Okay, it being 6 o'clock, I'd like to call this facilities meeting on August 23rd, 2022 to order. First would be approval of the May 23rd, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, approved, thank you. Next, we move on to old business, and we are going to start with, where is it? Oh, no, we're going to move on to new business.
It's a new business item that we're going to move up.
Okay, we're going to move to, Jen's going to give us an overview of the Red Hill Main Street Bridge closure that nobody wants. Where are we at?
Yeah, we're all a little nervous about it.
Yeah.
We went and spoke with Red Hill because there was some sort of agreement that no one could find in writing that we were permitted to use that road for just the buses.
Okay.
So it was more of a word of mouth thing. Somebody told somebody else and it was fine, which is great. But they also found something where they were trying to name the road Emergency Road, and they have not found that yet either in writing. So what they'd like to do is move forward and get this all tied up together. So
This is the road, just for the record here.
Oh, yeah,
This is
sorry.
it's okay, this is the road in front of the high school that goes out the side of the high school toward Red Hill.
yes, down Jefferson.
Okay.
So a little road.
Gravel.
Yep.
Yes.
And with a
Little
gate.
gravel
Yeah.
road.
Connects
Yeah.
into Jefferson Street.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the thought process is, we're gonna have a hard time on 11th of Main making right-hand turns with our buses, or being able to make the goofy little, what do they call that when you go across the road and make a quick left?
Yeah.
So the buses aren't,
Quick left.
yeah, it's a quick left.
Goofy.
So, sorry. So with that being said, we were asking basically if we could use that roadway to send the buses out towards the Green Lane area. This way we kept them from going back and forth on Montgomery amongst all the traffic from the bridge being closed, and trying to find a way out of town in that direction. Coming up 8th, going down further, coming down around Garyville, or wherever we had to go to get out. They definitely were in agreement, you know, whatever they could do to help us, which was wonderful.
Great.
Yes, they're fantastic. So they did send an email today requesting that, and the day we met, they requested that we keep that closed until we had an agreement. So we did make sure today that Rodney will have that closed every day until we get an agreement. But they would like to do an MOU with the district in saying that we can use that roadway for buses only, for the bridge
Closure.
takedown, with the bridge closure. And then if we wanted to extend that later, it'd be something we could go back and revisit again.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good
so,
news.
yeah, it's definitely a good cooperation between the two of us. There's some signage missing that their engineer had told them and they agree with, and they're willing to put it up.
Okay.
Yeah, stop sign, one ways, things like that, so that's a bonus. But until we do this, we'll have to keep it closed.
Okay.
And we were hoping to start the school year that way. So they are having a meeting the 30th
Oh, good.
in the evening. So I'll be going to that and see what we can do to move it forward. But we're also going to talk with Kyle tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah,
That's-
is this a gravel road?
Yeah, it's an
Yep.
emergency
Right.
road.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
who is gonna plow that when it snows, do we know?
Well, the interesting thing is they
Not to cut you off.
gave us a
No,
copy
I
of
thought
the
Papa-
right-of-way easement at the meeting. And it's
Okay.
from 1997. I don't think we were aware that it existed.
Yeah.
Number two, actually, the maintenance, repair, and upkeep of the road is the responsibility of the borough.
Wow.
Because we granted them an easement, and it actually goes on to say that the borough has a right to construct a road, you know, for emergency use through that right of way. So
Okay.
if they wanted to, you know, pave it at some point, or
We could only hope.
Yeah.
How about now?
you know, it basically says for improved access for emergency response teams and vehicular traffic during an emergency only, and hence the gate.
Right.
You know, it wouldn't be open full time, it would be, you know, I'm sure first responders would have a key, and if we had, you know, a major traffic incident or a bridge closure or something, that could be opened. But they, yeah, it's their responsibility.
Does that ever get used now? I thought we had
We
discussion
have
about
been
this
using
last
it.
year.
We have been using it.
I've seen it open before.
Yep. Well, it was.
Like after graduation, I'm thinking.
It was
When I saw
locked
it.
in the evenings and then opened up in the mornings, every day,
Oh.
by high school staff.
Oh,
But it wasn't used as a entrance into our property, was it?
No, I think it was being used.
It was being used both ways.
Yeah.
okay.
We had a couple buses that would go out that way, and they would run into teacher traffic coming in.
I remember talking about the buses using it to exit to help alleviate the traffic congestion
Yes.
on Montgomery and 11th.
Yep. Yep,
So it's
that
gonna
was
be
what
closed
our
to teachers as
understanding
well?
was. It is
Yeah.
closed to everyone as of today.
Okay.
Per the email, it said it is to remain closed until we have a signed agreement. And I agree with that, 100%.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so we did speak with Rob, and we spoke with Rodney at the high school and asked them to please make sure that it's locked and let everyone know it's off limits.
Okay.
What's unclear to me is who's drafting the MOU. I don't know if
Right.
that's coming from their solicitor or,
Right.
I would think.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah, they spoke to their solicitor already, so.
Okay. Well, we got a couple months to
Luckily they
figure
work-
it out.
Luckily
to
they
get
work
it
right down the hall. I think they're right
Right.
down the hall from one another, Kyle and
Yep.
Mark.
And, yeah, Mark Osterman, I think, is
Yeah.
Red Hill. So
And when
that's-
this does go into effect, we'll be able to use it both for ingress and egress, both in and out for the
Yes.
buses.
Yes.
Buses, if we can come to
For
terms.
buses,
on
Yeah.
for staff, it's all.
For
limits now, right?
buses.
Buses
Not-
only, right, so,
For good, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, not
It
going
was
to be
never intended
a.
for any
Right.
passenger traffic, basically.
Mhm.
Right. Great.
So I
Thank
think, Doug,
you.
if we're able to communicate, I know you said Rob, but I'm sure there's people that are cutting through to go to the middle school as well.
Mhm.
I think we need to put something out to all staff,
That makes
Right.
sense.
following up, whether it's, again, it could be Friday after the board meeting, after you guys report out from the committee, that says, based upon blah, 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 and these issues, we're working to rectify that for the, for the school buses. But however that gets rectified, no staff are able to use that road
Right, God forbid
until further
something
notice
happens.
or at all.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
Terrific.
That way Rob and Chris can reiterate it and support it.
Yeah.
I think if it comes from us, if not,
Right.
we don't want to waste having, once we do get it open, we don't want to waste having manpower there to not let teachers through or staff through.
Right.
and-
Yeah, it's difficult to.
They better know right off the
Well, we don't want to
bat.
lose it either, right? We don't want to.
Exactly.
You don't want to jeopardize losing that opportunity, knowing what we're headed
That's what I
into
said today.
for December.
Terrific.
Right.
Excellent, excellent. Any questions, you guys?
But unfortunately, right, day one, though, next Monday, it's gonna be
Yeah,
locked.
Right.
Date's
Yep.
gonna be locked.
Well, it'll be locked.
So-
It is what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it won't be for long.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
and the buses, we'll get them out of there, it won't be so bad. It's when the bridge closes that we're really stressed about it.
Yes. Totally understand that.
Yeah, we want to
We
get
got
it
2
to on
months.
time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, December maybe. Yeah. Okay. Well, you can go home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Jen.
very much.
You're welcome. Have a good
Appreciate
evening,
that.
everyone.
You too,
Thanks, Jen.
thank you. Okay, well, we'll move back to old business. Start with our Giza Project. How are we doing?
We're doing well. The summer has been extremely busy. But, I'm excited to say that, all of the projects that we needed to hit to make sure all the areas were conditioned and cooled when they need to be and heated when they needed to be are substantially complete. So the boilers at 4 or 5 are in and one is up and running. Same thing with the boilers at the high school. We were able to heat the pool a few weeks ago. We installed, I think the count is 39 different heat pumps in the athletic area, which included the trainers, the weight room, AD office, the 4 locker rooms, the 2 gym locker rooms, the 2 team locker rooms. So we'll actually be able to give them air conditioning on Friday night football games now. Plus the entire 400 wing, band wing, the X-Lab shop wing. All of those units have been replaced, along with all the associated rooftop equipment that supports those.
Yep,
those,
and the geothermal's up and running as well.
both
Yep.
geothermal systems had to be drained, but they're refilled at this point, and they're up and running. We've installed basically temperature and humidity thermostats in all of the classrooms served by the geothermal systems that are not adjustable. And there's a specific reason for that, and that's just to make sure that those systems are not overloaded.
Yep.
If everyone in all 40 users turned them down to 65, then we would have a significant problem with those wells. So they're currently set at 72
Okay.
with what they call a 1.5 dead band. So if the temperature goes above 73.5, they'll start to cool. And if the temperature goes below 70.5, if I did the math right, they'll heat,
Good.
sort of automatically. And similar to the units you have at your house, they'll shut off when when they're satisfied. So if it's, you know, anywhere between 70.5 and 73.5, the unit's not running.
Yep.
So we're saving that energy, and you know, the load on the wells goes, you know, way down.
Yep. That's great.
So that, yeah, that's all very encouraging. A lot of the software work is progressing well. Is also, maybe next meeting I can do a demo of the new software. It's pretty slick. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think, you know, there is probably, and they'll probably be on site at least through the end of September, and then we'll start to have, you know, contractors, you know, rolling off the project, and, you know, we'll go into a maintenance or a warranty period.
Yep. That's great.
We did run into one problem that we have a workaround for. If you recall, in the 300 wing, that wing is cooled by window air conditioners.
Yes.
The goal this summer was to remove those in favor of cooling them through a chilled water coil and an air handler that I guess fell into disrepair some time ago and wasn't repaired. When they went to pressurize that coil in that air handler, it had, I think, a half a dozen leaks.
Yeah. I have one like that at home.
Yeah. So we're having to order a replacement coil, and we have to do a little bit of block work too in the room, because we can't get the coil out of the machine without taking some of the CMU block out of the wall. It's not going to necessarily cost, well, it's not going to cost the district any additional money because we're using the contingency money.
Right.
So we don't have to go to the well, no pun intended, again. But it's going to delay the removal of those window air conditioners until the coils, the replacement coil is fabricated and installed.
Okay.
Which is like, I think they said 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, that's not bad.
It's quicker than I thought.
So everything's operating as normal until we get the part and do the
Yeah,
replacements.
we're basically, we'll be operating like we operated last September, which was, you know, heating through the central plant, but cooling by window air conditioners, and then we'll flip that around once the coil comes in and remove all the window air conditioners, so.
Okay.
They did run all the extension piping all through the auditorium lobby and down into that air handler room, and to support that geothermal well if we ever need to, or if we ever need an expansion on that side of the building, we have the piping available
Good.
for hot water and chilled water that we can extend,
Good.
you know, without adding another chiller or another boiler or something like that. We intentionally upsize some of that equipment for both purposes, expansion, or if that geothermal well field fails us someday, we can just switch it to the central plant essentially with a little bit of work. But
Okay,
the piping's there.
that's great. Well, just so I say, so when we go to the construction meetings for it, this is what we're down to. This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is just awesome. And I have to say, I'll say it out loud, Noresco and ICS, they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job. They really are.
Yeah, the contractor, the mechanical contractor, HT Lyons,
Yep.
has been really good to work with. You know, some things that, you know, they find they just sort of fix as they're going through. That
Yep.
wasn't necessarily in their scope, which is certainly appreciated.
Yep.
So they've been a real good contractor, so.
Doc, do you have a
we're-
question?
We're down the home stretch.
Weren't there 2 geothermal systems at the high school and one that, did they shut them both down or did they shut one down?
No, there was actually 3. There was one sort of under the band parking lot, one under the student parking lot on the athletic side, and one draw a triangle back down the new walking path getting towards Keeney Stadium. That central one near Keeney Stadium, that one's defunct, that was shut down. But the two on the wings, the 400 wing or the band wing and the athletic wing, those are both operational still. Yep.
With the shutdown, can you recover that? If you-
We looked at that. They actually did some excavation back there, and it kind of juice wasn't worth the squeeze. The auxiliary gym, the wrestling gym, was on the geothermal system, and we actually took that off in favor of DX rooftop units, so we lightened the load a little bit on the geothermal system on that side. But so far I don't think we need any additional capacity, if we manage this equipment the right way.
Yep.
So just to follow up on Dr. Ferris's question, it was a perfect lead in, I was thinking the same thing. So when those fields go bad, they're not worth recovering, or they're not really recoverable?
It's a really good question, because all of the studies that, we had a geothermal well contractor come in, and they did sampling and, fluid sampling and all of the tests that they normally do. And they said that the two on the wings of the school are in pretty good shape.
Good.
The third, because they're a geothermal well company, they wanted to tie that in, to give us more capacity, but when the engineers looked at it, it wasn't, it was more cost effective actually
To not have it.
to not have it and just upsize the chiller and the boilers a little bit.
Yep.
And run a bigger central plant. So I don't have any reason to believe that their end is near, or their end of
No.
life, or anything like that.
They're pretty simple.
They didn't,
it's
they
pretty
didn't
simple.
feel that way.
Yeah, really, it's
Um,
just
Yeah.
being sucked down into the ground, you're running
Yeah.
refrigerant through it, and it's using your natural
Right.
resources to
Mhm. To keep it cool.
exchange.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the only thing to do left is just I think it's ethanol, the antifreeze they have to put into the systems.
I think your biggest risk is lines breaking and losing and
Mhm.
contaminating
Right.
soil.
But what'll be nice is with the new system, we'll be able to monitor the load
Yes.
on those systems, so we can
Yep.
see at various, temperature set points in the classroom. Okay, if we're at 72 in the classrooms, what's the load? And it's temperature dependent, right? So if it's 98 degrees outside, the field will be more taxed than if it's 80 degrees.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, we really get those, it's just the two shoulder seasons. It's really just September and,
May.
End of May, first 2 weeks of June that we really have the higher loads. So
Right.
I'm not worried. I'm pretty comfortable that we're in pretty good shape.
Yep, I agree. I think it's great. I'm thrilled. Anybody have any questions? Okay, all right. Move on to the feasibility study.
Yeah, just an update on the feasibility study with KCBA. They've been very active over the last, really all summer. They've completed all of their site tours with the exception of this building. I believe that's happening next week. They've interviewed all of the administration from Dr. Roach on down, all through all the building principals and all of the curriculum folks. So the next to-do items is we have, if you recall, they had proposed a subcontractor to look at all the kitchen equipment, so that's scheduled.
Okay, good.
And they also have a subcontractor that's going to review the pool. That's
Okay.
scheduled as well, so those are still TBD items, but they're scheduled in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I think they're gonna wanna meet with the district in the next few weeks to just go over some ideas that they have. They also wanna come out and witness, either morning or afternoon dismissals.
That's a good idea.
They were interested in the traffic study, they were interested in some of the Plan Con documents, so they
Okay.
seem to be really digging in.
Good.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so once they have something to report or something to review with us, maybe we can invite them to a facilities committee and just get an
Sure.
update.
We're looking at this at like a 3 or 4 month process.
Yeah, I think it's probably another 2 or 3 months from
Yeah.
now is when we'll have
Okay.
something.
Good.
Certainly by.
I was just trying to
by the end
remember
of the
rough
year.
timelines,
Yeah, I
so
think it was,
there's-
but, well, summer was tough just because of vacations and everyone's
Mhm.
availability, but they seem to get scheduled. I think Mr. Vigilani is the only administrator, and I saw some emails today that they've scheduled, so.
Good, good, moving along.
We are
Keep it
definitely
moving.
moving along.
Okay. Any other questions? Guys are good? Okay, we will move on to the dreaded detention basin.
Right, so
Is it done yet?
the.
Almost, it's
the
probably close.
The bottom of the basin stabilization portion of the project is done.
Good.
That's complete. The only thing remaining to do is the sodding.
Okay.
So from where they came off the parking lot at the rear of the middle school, all the way back to the basin, got pretty chewed up.
Yeah.
So they basically took a front-end loader and scraped that whole area, and this Thursday they're coming in to lay sod.
Okay.
And then that'll be complete. So the
Then-
next step then we'll have Jim Mazika from Barry Isaac, formally reply back to the Conservation District's findings and request that they come out for an additional
Hula hoop test.
inspection.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Good. I'll be glad to see that in a rearview mirror. So now we need it to rain a lot so that we have the water to spray onto the new side.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Well, except they're pointing into the woods.
Yeah,
They're
I
not.
figured.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting
Okay.
thought, actually, because we are gonna be responsible for watering.
I know.
So,
I
watering
got
the
that.
sod, so we gotta make sure that takes. And I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling a little bit with some of the trees at the middle school.
Okay.
I had my eye on one of them that was dead, that was at one of the parking islands closer to the high school. But then over the last maybe 3 weeks, and I don't know if it's just, they're distressed because of the drought. There's probably 4 or 5 more that have lost their leaves, or their leaves are brown, so I'm not sure if they've gone dormant or they're actually,
I guess we'll know in the spring.
they're dead. So I'm gonna have to have somebody look at those, because I think the Conservation District is gonna want those, to be replaced. Yeah, it's.
Well, considering the seasons and the weather we've had, hopefully they won't hold it against us and realize that was a
Right.
untimely.
Because right, we could be chasing those trees for years and years.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of a concern of mine is just when they get real large and the amount of leaves that they're gonna be dropping in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out when that time comes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the St. Luke's High School signage.
So
Roach, if
we
you wanna-
put the information out to the board. Actually, you guys talked about it here in a previous meeting, the signage, the updated signage, and then we put it out to the board. They were ready to schedule and go, and I know Doug had said that we shared it here and ready to move forward. I wanted to make sure that we checked with the board before we did it, that way it wasn't go up and then there were if there were concerns, we'd already have this product up there, so trying to, again, transparent and not have issues after the fact. So I did get a couple calls and reach out through email about the signage, specifically the Tomahawk logo was a concern. You had asked, I don't know if it was a concern or not, you had asked about the length.
I was just curious about the length, yeah.
90 feet is what we got. Bobby initially predicted 30 to 40. I go, that doesn't sound right, because I've seen them at other schools. My kids play at schools, and they're pretty common, and St. Luke's has that piece there. So we have, again, there was concerns about the Tomahawk piece, that ever out there conversation about the mascot. You see it happening in the National Football League and Baseball League, and not that we're not using it. We're still the Indians. We still have the Indian Chief logo. We have a couple others. We have the arrowhead and the Tomahawk and the UP. So those are the things we continue to rotate through. That was a discussion. At any rate, I've since went back to Bobby and asked to, in essence, remove the Tomahawk piece and have new proofs. So I have those, if you want, I can show them here.
Better.
So just give me a second to
Okay.
just queue up here. And I can show you the new proofs, happy to, you know, at this point, if there's been conversations and concerns from some of the board, I'm happy to put it on, you know, you can share it at your report, we can pull them right up and show them. And if there's, again, I think the last conversation, I feel like you had to have a board vote. If you want to have a vote, we can have a vote. I mean, put it out.
Yeah, maybe we should then, since we had some,
Yeah.
feel that it's
Okay.
worth the
I'd rather
discussion.
get it right first,
out there.
then afterwards, so.
We appreciate it.
Yep,
Yes, we do.
yep. That's why I put it, if you have questions, call and we'll
Yep.
figure it out, so.
Okay.
Let me, give me a second here.
You know, we might as well vet it all the way out before we go and do it and everybody has a fit, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
With that.
Get everybody to voice their opinions or
Yep.
Yep.
pros, cons
Okay.
in public, so that we can't come to it at a later date saying, I didn't know.
Yeah, that's
or-
what, that's the, you guys know that's the
I
last,
didn't like
that's the
it.
last way
Yeah.
you want to operate. Let me see.
Well, again, it's up to the board members to decide, so.
Yep.
No, that's the wrong. I want to get two different versions on it.
That's okay, I'll fill the dead time for you.
Yeah, give me a second.
There you go.
Actually,
Everybody's
Peg,
saying-
since you're so involved, you know, off the record, is there anything to where the schools have to file what their mascot logo or emblem symbol is going to be?
No, but you get into branding and marketing sometimes, you know, because you could walk into Walmart and they could be selling our stuff.
Mhm.
They're not, but
It
they
happens.
could. I know it happens over at the Walmart in Boyertown. They're selling Boyertown
Yep.
stuff. So that plays into the marketing stuff.
Okay.
But as far as permission, no. I mean, you know, it's local control. It's, you know.
Okay. That's good.
I was just curious, like any, with our PIAA, our sports
Oh, no.
organizations, leagues, things like that.
No, they
1 year
could
we're
care
wearing
less. They-
Indians logo on our helmets, and the
They-
next year we're wearing
No.
tomahawks.
They only worry about running championships. They don't care, they don't care what you are.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's all local control.
So this would be, the first set is this one here, it's very basic, UP. It's huge because this is one door of the athletic training. So that's the outside doors. This would here would be duplicated on both doors, going in directly from the outside up the little steps into the athletic training room itself.
Similar to our entrance to this room,
Yeah.
Yeah.
roughly.
Yep, it would be, if you're heading towards Keeney Stadium at the edge of the school, you know, there's a couple steps and 2 doors right there. So this is what would be on both doors. This is one door, and it's exactly the same on the second door.
Okay.
Home of the Indians, St. Luke's Medicine. That's what the reproof is.
Okay.
This is one of the 2, no, sorry, this is an old one.
Yeah, we didn't like that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
This is the
Good one.
reproof from the Indians, so in on those slash marks by home and by Indians, I think that's where the tomahawk was. So they just kind
Okay.
of, just have it accentuated it there.
Okay.
Give me one
Looks like
second.
parentheses to me.
Yeah,
Them too.
give me one second to find the other one.
That would be the banner going around, 90-foot banner.
Oh, sure, they all paint.
So that's one of the new doors. This is the main athletics room going in, and Doug can attest that you can see out from inside.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one, again, using the upper perk and the UP, and the other one, they look all the same, but there's a difference, see that? So that one says upper perk,
Okay.
and that one has the UP everywhere. So they're 2 different versions of the same.
Okay.
So those were, and the other one that's not there was the one that was on the inside gym. No change to it, it just had a UP. It said athletics, I think, underneath it, right underneath all the banners.
Yeah. I think
Because
so.
it was kind of a picture of all the banners of all the schools in the pack, and it was just kind of right underneath that. Strategically placed on the opposite end from where the camera comes down to see that.
Okay.
So these are the reproofs. So it is using the UP, it's using the Indians, home of the Indians. It just removes the tomahawk piece. So if that was of concern or a concern about
Yep, then we don't have to worry about
insensitivity,
it.
again,
Yep,
you know, that's, so.
Looks sharp,
I think it's,
Yeah.
as I talked to one other board member, I said there's two issues. There's this issue here we're having, do we want to do this or not? Here's some variations. And we know that the mascot conversation is out there.
yep.
I knew that before I came here, that that's
Yes.
out there, and if that's a concern, then, you know, I hear it from time to time, but it's never really bubbled up. You know, I believe, and I think I said a couple of years, that decision is much bigger than the superintendent. That's a community type of decision. So if it's going to bubble up to the board to have that conversation, then we'll have it when we
We'll
have
deal
it.
with it then, yeah.
Remember, Melanie, it had some steam right before COVID hit,
Yes, it did.
and then COVID hit, and then it kind of
And then we lost it all.
went
Yeah.
away a little bit, but to Alan's point,
Yep.
it
Well,
could,
especially when we put these
it
up.
could, it could resurface again, and, you know, I would just recommend that if it does, that we consider doing a task force
Yeah, that makes
on
sense.
talking about it, because I think you have both sides.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think you have
I
strong
mean,
feelings.
we have both sides.
Both sides.
If our 9 has both sides.
Yeah, so, but we'll see, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So if you're comfortable with, I mean, again, if you're not comfortable with just, these are the reproofs. So you saw this one.
Yep.
You saw the banner with the parentheses. And then you saw the athletic room doors.
Yep.
And that's it, right? And then the one.
gym.
Now, I'll have it more concise if you want me to pull it up on
I would love
Thursday.
you to do that.
I'll just put it into a
Let's
little
have the
drop it.
conversation.
And this was the only one that's different, right? This one, the only option here was between that
I knew it was like a,
and that. If we like either of those
Yeah,
better.
the first version better.
That one.
Yeah, I like that one better too.
Okay, so again, I can pull that.
Okay.
This is
Thank you.
Doug's, this is the intimidation, you gotta walk into the gym door. to
That's
get
right.
to
Yeah, that's it.
And we've always wanted to do something to designate the athletic, you know, this
Yep.
entrance is the athletic entrance, and I think this would accomplish that and dress that area up.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
psych
So
them
next
out
steps
before
would
they.
be what then?
I think that we'll bring it to the
So I'll do
committee.
it in my facilities report?
I'll have it ready to go.
Okay.
I mean, in all ideal cases.
I mean, maybe no one has any questions after that. Who
maybe they
knows?
do.
But
I mean, if we have the generals, I mean, I know they're ready to chomp at the bit to get
I
going.
bet,
That's just
yeah.
okay, again, we're not gonna rush, it's our schedule.
Yep.
But the sooner the better. So if something magically happens on Thursday, because we want to move forward, or at least give us the nod that everyone's like, okay, we can at least let them know these are our proofs and to get going. But if we
Okay.
wait till the 13th, trying to think of the next meeting,
Okay,
9th
yeah.
or whatever, if you have to wait, you have to.
Yeah, the 8th.
So, wait, prefer not to, but we're not gonna get it wrong.
All right, well, hopefully
So-
we'll all be in agreement or.
Okay?
That 90-foot banner, that's gonna bother me though.
You think
'Cause
so?
it looks like 2 sets of parentheses on it. It doesn't, you know, that's just, maybe it's
Don't
just
like
me.
the parentheses, yeah.
It's not just you.
Not just,
Okay.
okay.
If it's just you, it's two of us,
Yeah.
'cause I saw the same.
And what's it
thing.
supposed to, what's? I
We had
mean,
the
It's supposed to be
tomahawks
a
there
break, I
before.
guess, between the
Yeah.
words, but like,
Again, if we don't want anything there, or you want another UP, I mean, we just need to know that.
Do we need
I
anything?
mean, do we need
there?
anything?
I would think, if anything, if they were going to put something there, I would think a dash, if anything. Otherwise, I would leave it blank.
I tried to
Yeah,
get my
right,
face on there, but it just wasn't taking that well.
A dash or a circle, but I would think blank.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the parentheses either. I get you. I
Well,
get you.
just give direction, we'll just, yeah, I don't know if I can turn one around, a new proof by Thursday, but if that's the only
We'll just say
hiccup
that's,
to it, then
yeah,
that's fine. That's
Why
fine.
do you
That's
need
what
them
it's-
at all?
What about dots?
Dots.
dots. I don't think you need anything.
Yeah, I really
I
don't
think
think
it's,
you need
they
anything.
look different, the fonts are different, the size is
Yeah,
different.
again, it's just a reproof, I just
Yep.
asked for reproofs
Yeah.
with what we
Okay.
wanted and what we didn't want.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Doug, where's that 90-footer going?
On the outside of the fence.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
think-
on the,
I think-
it's on the smaller fence around the track.
Yeah.
But is it on the outside?
Oh.
As you're walking up, you see it, that's where I've always seen it.
Okay.
I thought someone said
I
it was
thought
on
it was on
the
the
inside
inside. Oh,
to
you
see
know
it
what,
from the
yeah.
stands. but-
Right, that's where I thought.
Oh, okay.
So it's on the
Yeah, but
low-
It's
it's on
definitely
the-
on that fence, but I'm, Yeah, we'd have to clarify whether it's
Yeah, you'll need clarification.
outside or inside.
I just assumed they meant the inside fence.
It is the
not
inside
that-
fence, the
yeah.
lower fence around the
Yeah.
track. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think, are these letters facing the
football
The entrance
yeah, the
or
entrance,
facing the
or are they facing the
inside?
stands?
Yeah.
Watching?
Yeah,
Right.
like, is it on either side, or is it at the far end?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know now, I
I
don't
will get
remember
clarity.
either.
Exact
That I can
placement.
get clarity for.
Okay,
Yeah, we can,
All right.
all right, excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you would have them, then
I'll
we'll
get
have
them in a
that
little tighter
discussion.
fashion than I just did.
Okay, that's okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, unless anybody has any more questions. We'll move on to the roofing master plan proposal and the 4-5 center roofing bid.
I'll actually take the second part first.
Okay. That'd be
If
easier
you
one.
recall, we engaged Sobek Roofing to do design work for us to replace the roof over the admin wing of 4-5.
Yes.
That bid package is probably 95% complete.
Oh, good.
I just have to finish my review, and then we have to, come up with a sequence of dates, when we're gonna advertise, when we're gonna have, an on-site meeting, Zoom meetings, and those things. Their recommendation is for us to go out to bid sooner rather than later
Okay.
and award, in the fall, so contractors have, a good 6 to 8 months to secure all their materials, so they
Okay.
can, get to work, June 15th of '23, as a summer project, and make sure there's no supply chain
That in
issues.
case we didn't have any summer projects for a while?
Right.
Just
So
checking.
to make sure there's, no supply chain issues, rather than waiting, until the spring to bid this.
And then nobody has any shingles or roof
Right, they
material?
don't, like,
Yeah.
the big thing at all, and a lot of my colleagues had to delay roofing projects this summer because they couldn't get insulation. They couldn't get the tapered insulation, so they had to put roofing projects off. So we don't want that to happen, so the
Nope.
thought is to go out to bid soon, like within the next probably 3 weeks, and then probably, maybe be looking to the board to approve something in October or early November.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Good. All right.
The
backwards.
second part of it is the roofing master plan. If you recall, during the feasibility study, we intentionally removed roofing from KCBA's scope.
Right.
The thought was that, we really wanted to put aces in their places and have, roofing consultants really go through all of our buildings and, do their surveys and core sampling and infrared studies and all of that. This proposal that's before you is that scope of work. They actually have an online system that they demoed for me where all of this information would be loaded, photographs, warranties. They do a roofing report of all the roofs and rank them, A to F, and essentially come back with a master plan that would be similar to the master plan that KCBA would be developing, and then we would merge the two to have a comprehensive, capital plan running out 10 years or so.
Perfect.
I did budget for this expense. I actually budgeted, I think, $35,000 for roof consulting work this school year. So, my recommendation would be to move forward with this consulting work,
Yep.
including the infrared work.
The drone work?
The
And
drone
the
work.
drone work, yeah.
Because I know in at least one of the buildings, we do have, some active leaking and wet insulation. And, I need to identify those areas, and you can do it with infrared.
Yep.
So what they're doing in the first part of the bid is different than the drone inspection? Like, it's not a
Yes.
either or?
No,
It's an
the
add-on.
first part is a definite, and then we can add the infrared drone work as
A bonus.
as an add-on.
Okay.
I know we have a no drones policy, but I think in this situation.
Well, I think this is a little different, yeah.
We'll have to, make an exception. So my thought was I had one or two questions that I wanted to go back on to them. I wasn't sure what their scope involved. I want to clarify what they believe they need to do at the new middle school, if anything, because they
Right.
do list that, so that's one question I have for them.
Well, maybe they just want to make sure it's documented.
But I think that's probably all, but I think you're right on. But I just
Yeah.
want to ask that question, and I also, we have some standing seam metal roofs that obviously I don't think infrared would penetrate that
Correct.
or be able
It
to
says that in
identify.
there, yeah.
Yeah, so I have one or two more questions on that, and then I was, with everyone's approval, my thought was to list this before the full board in September.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, if we're doing work on the 4-5 center, how's that work play into then getting it documented into here? Do they come out again and update, or am I missing something?
No, it's the same firm. So
Okay.
whatever work they do for the bid, they would just, upload into this system, what do they call it, MJS Live. And
Yep.
then, we would have a record of that roof and all its associated
Okay.
warranties.
I think from your perspective, would that make a lot of sense for you?
No, I really need this.
I know you do. I know you
I
do.
I don't want to beg, but
No, but I get it.
I do need this to
That's a lot of
manage
work.
our.
Mhm.
Well, no, we do. We've discussed it previously in other
Yeah.
meetings, all the patchwork that's been done over the years and the different types of roofs that have been interconnected with each other on the various additions and,
Right, and some are under warranty, some aren't, and once you get to that, if you have a 20-year warranty and you're in year 18, 19, well, you have a decision to make. Do you let that warranty expire? There's coating systems out there now. Do you coat that roof and add, get another 10 years or not? That's the kind of help.
Right,
That's
great
the
idea.
decision-making help that I need from
Yep.
a firm like this.
So the only place that you'll be able to get the report is that MJS, is it online? MJS?
Yeah, yes, that's where everything that's the central repository for all of our information. Now, I know what your next question is going to be, right? Who owns that data?
Yeah.
Right.
Do we get
will
hard
ask that.
copies of it or something at some point, or are we always tied to that where?
Right, I'll ask that.
But we're always
question.
paying $30 a month for the rest of our lives.
Exactly, yeah. I would the first thing I would probably do once I got access is download a copy of everything.
Yep,
Right.
makes sense.
But,
We didn't hear that.
Making sure you
Yeah.
can do that, yeah, they don't have
Right.
a block somehow that you
Yeah,
can't
but
do it.
exactly, but I'll certainly ask that question.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right, so you want to go ahead with the 25,814,
And,
and that includes the first year of hosting of their.
Yeah, and then I'll just budget for that, whatever that is, $360
Yeah, I
ongoing
think
in my
it's-
operating expense.
Okay, and then we're doing the alternate 6898 for the drone and the infrared.
That's my recommendation, yes.
Okay.
In the meantime,
Are
I'll
Are
double
you with
check
that?
with,
You with that,
Yeah,
TJ?
I'll double check with
Yeah,
our
me too.
insurance carrier.
budgeted
with
35,
the
so
drone,
we're
so
gonna
far,
go
from
2.5.
a third party.
Yep.
Right.
I'm okay with that too. All right, you've got our okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right, so,
Go forth and be happy.
so I'll put something on the school board agenda for the 8th.
Yeah, okay, terrific. Thank you for budgeting that. I know that's as important as all the Connexus stuff that'll come.
Yes.
So that you have
Right.
you can see all the systems.
Yeah, the next thing to go after, I think, after the roofs is gonna be the parking lots. There's
That's
some
ugly.
parking lots that are gonna need some,
That's not gonna be pretty either.
some help.
Yep, I agree. All right. Anybody have any questions? Roofing master plan, 4-5 roof, good to go? Okay. We'll move on to the Dr. Person facility naming request.
So I think back in May, we had asked Doc Farris to complete the application anew.
With a
and-
real,
and-
what you want, yeah.
Right, and that's the document that I forwarded it out
Yes.
to everyone, so
Yep.
we have it.
Yes. Questions, comments?
There's a separate sheet.
Yeah, have the separate sheet.
Let me see. Dr. Farris, when you noted on here, see separate sheet under, please describe the manner in which the candidate would be acknowledged, was that the recommendations that you sent in, or the testimonials, or was there another page that I?
There's another page that says 12 by 14 inch plaque at entrance door area of wrestling facility, that one. Okay.
You have it?
Heck yeah. That's when you send it in, I printed it.
Sorry, I didn't include that.
That's all right. That's all right. So it says to be done at first home wrestling match in December of 2022. Recognize all the many things he did to make UPSD a better district for all stakeholders in the district. Feel the district should finance the plaque. The actual cost is not known. All right. Do we have any more thoughts on that? Anyone? Because I don't think the district's paying for it, as far as I know. If the board, and he goes on to say, if the board feels they do not want to finance, we have a group of appreciative people who will finance the plaque. Okay.
The one thing that if the board does not pay for it, and we will pay for it, just list it as anonymous donor. Don't put our name on it,
Okay.
please.
Gotcha. GP, Keith, discussion?
I would say, we've been kind of firm with saying that we're not going to pay for it, so, from the beginning, so I think we got to stick with that, but I don't have an issue with going through with it.
Okay.
Same.
So we have, so is there something you want to get a mock-up of from wherever you're getting it from?
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to Peggy and George. I am totally strange to that.
Yeah, George, whatever you want to do.
George, what should we have on the plaque? That's what,
Yeah, I wrote that down, I have to look it up again.
yeah, but you wrote a whole biography.
That's not going to fit there. 12 by 14.
12 by
Yeah,
14.
right. This may be an appreciation for your dedication to the
A
district.
recognition, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Did Tom ever have a favorite saying or something that he used all the time? I don't you remember if he...
I will try to find out. I'm gonna talk, if they're gonna let us go ahead with this, I'm gonna reveal this to his son Scott.
Oh, okay.
Now, the thing with Scott will probably come up with a longer thing than George.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But, no, I think you just have even maybe a picture of him, superintendent, and his years of service.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want it to say anything about the wrestling or
Well,
recognition for
Something
that?
like educational leader, 19.
No, she's saying, do they want to put anything about his relationship to wrestling?
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud.
He was I don't know how to say, he wrestled in college, he coached wrestling, he purchased out of his own funds a light, I think the original wrestling light. He's been a long time supporter of athletics and academics, something like that. He's always supported academics and athletics. And
That sounds like a nice tribute to me. That sounds like a nice way to tribute it.
We'll just dedicate this, we dedicate the wrestling area to Dr. Tom Persing, superintendent such and such, because his interest in education and sports or education and wrestling.
Why don't you reach out to his son?
I will.
And, and then we'll trim it.
Okay.
There you go.
I will reach out to him this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
See what Scott comes up with, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. So is that something that the facilities wants to approve before we do that? I mean, approve, the actual approve?
I would think so.
Okay,
Yes.
I agree. Okay. Got your marching orders, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to custodial staffing, or lack thereof.
Well, we certainly made headway over the summer,
Okay.
thankfully. The increase in the rates, I think, made a difference, not only in, attracting some new folks, but also probably as important, retention. Since those new rates went in, we haven't lost anyone, unfortunately.
Good.
We had a recent promotion. A custodian at the middle school is now the head custodian at Marlborough Elementary, Charlene Heinrichs, which now obviously opens a vacancy at the middle school. All said and done right now, for some reason I'm seeing more part-timers than full-timers for some reason. So we're sort of patching it together. Like in 4 or 5, I think I'm going to have 3, 4-hour part-timers working in the evening instead of, 1.5, full-timer.
Is that going to work okay for you?
So far, yes.
Okay.
Some of them are one's a student at Boyertown, one's a student that is taking all online classes, so he's available in the early evenings. We hired one part-time that could only do day shift, so we put her at Marlborough to cover a recent resignation, to cover the lunchtime. So we're patching it together. I think I have my spreadsheet open here. About 4 full-time people at this point. I'm down. So.
Okay.
So we're going to continue to work at it. We actually got another application yesterday, so I'm just waiting for that individual to call me back.
Okay.
So we're continuing to work on it. I don't, it's
And
it's gotten better.
I see on the agenda for this week that there's a motion to approve, can't remember the name of the company, that's a big agenda.
Precision HR.
Okay, and that would be as needed.
As needed, and their program's a little unique. It's temp to perm.
Oh, okay.
So I believe if we employ their temporary custodian for 750 hours, we can hire them with no fee.
Oh, nice.
So it's basically
Well,
6
that's good.
months.
Okay.
So we can flip them to an employee
That would be nice.
after 6 months.
Okay.
I suspect they may struggle just like we are.
Yeah.
Just because they're pulling from the same labor pool, but we just wanted to expand our reach a little bit.
Great. I think that's great. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to new business. Summer projects completed. We went over some of that.
Yeah, I just
Great.
wanted to, just as a sort of an FYI, run quickly through the projects that we completed this summer, separate and apart from the tremendous amount of work that, the Giza Project and the time that consumed. But so you recall, we had the whiteboard and projector install in the 90 or so classrooms. That project is complete, and I know the IT team is ready to support all those new projectors next week, and actually I think they're out in front of it this week.
Great.
as well. We renovated the Hereford Library,
Oh, that's right.
so we removed all the carpeting and painted and put down new carpeting. It's actually a mirror image of the high school library, same paint, same carpet, because I'm trying not to stock 17 different types of carpet. So that actually, I think it turned out really well. So if you're at
Children of
Hereford,
common sense.
yeah,
Yep, there you go.
if you're at Hereford, pop in and see that.
Did you read the research on learning in colors or anything?
It's actually, it's fairly close to this color.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, there's a whole,
the grayish.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of,
Yeah.
all kinds of research on color
It
and
has a fancy
learning.
name,
and
which escapes me right now.
Sage.
but I just defer to Dr. Farina. She's the paint and carpet
Yep.
person, so I keep myself out of trouble. But she has an eye for that, so. We continue to replace carpeting in favor of tile at Marlborough, so we did those four classrooms at Marlborough, 2 upstairs, 2 downstairs. Turned out, fine. We actually drained the pool this summer, which was interesting in itself. And then, I underestimated. I had made some commitments to the water polo team. I thought I could get them in quicker, but what I forgot about was the chlorine. So I didn't want to send 200,000 gallons of chlorinated water down to UMG's treatment plant.
Yeah, they get a little upset about
Yeah,
it.
they would really be unhappy with me. So, we turned off the chlorine feed and let the water sit. It had to sit about a week and a half until we couldn't detect any chlorine levels anymore. And then we
That's a lot of chlorine.
We let it fly. And then, so we did all of the, the scrubbing of the walls and replaced some of the lighting lenses and such. And then we refilled it, which is another monstrous feat. We're also in the process through our vendor of replacing the chlorine and acid feed systems at their expense.
Oh, that's right.
This was the, after the little hazmat incident that we had, this was, I think, their remedy with OSHA. So we're the benefactors of that. That system will be up in a few weeks once we deplete the liquid acid and chlorine that we have.
Okay.
We went around and we're removing door handles on all of the exterior doors, prevent them from being barred. I think the only building we have left to do is the Ed Center here. There's one or two that we have to rework just because of orientation to how the door gets dogged, but we'll work through those. We had all the grease traps and all the kitchens vacuumed out.
That was fun.
Well, Umbria now has what they call a FOG permitting process. FOG's an acronym for fats, oils, and grease.
Oh.
So now we have to actually pull a permit every year, and they have the right to inspect our grease traps twice a year. We'll just kind of leave it at that.
Okay. Enough said.
Yeah. We painted the backboards on the outside high school basketball court there. Just gave them a fresh coat of paint. We also did the macadam at Hereford and Marlborough, the Foursquare and the hopscotch and all those other games that the kids played. We refreshed the paint on all of those. Awesome.
Good.
We have signage that we put up around the perimeter of the 4-5 center in response to the sort of pedestrian traffic through our recess periods. That essentially just says, school grounds are closed while school's in session, just to give the East Greenville PD a little more, I guess, teeth to enforce that.
Okay.
We also put additional signage at the, kind of rules and regulations signage at the playgrounds. That was done this summer.
At 4 or 5?
For all three.
Okay.
Yeah, all three. Let's see, just some small things. We had to put a ceiling hatch in the high school TV studio because there's an electric duct coil in there that no one could maintenance because there's a hard ceiling in that room. So
that was a lot of project. That one,
yes.
That one was a
lot of
bugger.
project because it's a TV studio. We had to cut in the hatch, and then we had to paint it black because the ceiling's black, and so we got that done.
That was a lot of Noresco discussion.
There was a
Went
lot.
on about that.
For
Let me
TV,
just say.
TV station?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a hard ceiling.
Yep.
And there's a coil up above it that no one could ever get to. So
They can now.
They can now, so now we put the hatch in. We're still running cabling for the exterior cameras for Marlborough, 4-5, and Hereford. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get those mounted and up and running with our help from IT. We had a lot of plumbing repairs at 4-5 and Marlborough. It's a particular type of fitting. It's called a Victolic fitting.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Victolic.
They essentially have seals in them or gaskets in them, and on systems where they're called dual temp, the 2-pipe versus 4-pipe. So we're changing from heating to cooling and heating and cooling. They expand and contract, and many cycles of that, they eventually leak. So when we went to cooling at 4-5, I think we probably had a dozen leaks that we had to replace fittings, and we had 2 or 3 at Marlborough, so we got those completed. We're doing a little bit of trimming of trees at the high school this week, just mostly on the exit driveway because they've grown down too low and they hit the top of the buses. So we're going to be doing that. And the contractor is underway, at least the engineering is underway. Remember the welding exhaust system? They're just about done the engineering to be able to submit for the permits, and then I'll have to work with Dr. Carpenter and Mr. Boardman, excuse me, to find out a time when we can get in there to install that equipment.
So
I'd hoped it was going to be done over the summer, but it just didn't work out.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Well,
we
it's
have
not
a-
like you didn't do anything.
So do we have a backup plan for what we're gonna do if they're welding and we still don't have that system in?
I think it's something that Dr. Carpenter and I have to talk about, whether it's going to be, you know, nice days and we open the doors and the windows, or we just, depending on the timing, are we going to, you know, allow them to weld or not, and how that should all work. But that conversation hasn't happened yet.
Okay,
So I'll definitely move that up on the list.
okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of, and actually, if you want this for your,
No, I wrote it all.
Sorry.
Like feverishly writing over here. I only know a lot of it, so.
right, you do,
I
you
do.
do. So that, yeah, it was a very, very busy summer.
Peg.
And the high school was,
Yep.
I
That was a
was
monster.
worried.
That was a monster.
Yeah, it looked disheveled for a lot of the summer.
There's a lot of plastic sheeting up there.
Yes,
Busy.
very busy.
Marble fence is looking a little ratty these days.
Oh, I
Any,
just
any
looked at
thoughts on,
Yeah.
you know,
we-
like gasoline in a match, or, you know?
Yep, pretty much.
We actually have
Big bonfire.
replacement uprights and what do they call them, beams, or,
We need to
that's
tell-
on the list at Marlborough. That was a summer project that we didn't get to. The other summer project we haven't gotten to, that didn't really have to be done in the summer. If you notice, when you come down the hill to Marlborough, the sign has a lot of the white kind of effervescence on it. It's just kind
Yeah.
of leaching out of the brick. We're gonna take care of that with just some power washing. It's a good question, Peg. I think we brought this up a long time ago,
Long
whether
time
that
ago.
fence, you know, replace it with something synthetic, take it down altogether, or continue to have it be, you know, that wood and just keep chasing it.
Wonder if we could make it not so far to the road, like closer to the building, and maybe it wouldn't be quite so big.
That's a good question. The first question is, do we need the fence out there? I'm going to say yes, because
Yeah,
we're allowing our
the
kids.
feedback that I got from the administration in Marlborough is it has helped them on a couple
Escapees,
occasions.
a couple of escapees.
I would think the only suggestion of bringing it back in a bit might help us if we're going to do any type of repair replacement there. We also have to be aware that our workers or our contractors, I was driving past there 2 weeks ago, and somebody was cutting the lawn or trimming around there, and they're trying to get over it and literally knock the rails out. So
Yes,
using some common sense, trying to get through the fence helps also.
right.
Well, I had a conversation with the person who actually put that fence in. I won't name any names, but anyway, it's a friend of mine. And they said that when they went to put it in, a lot of them were cut short because there's so much shale.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bugger.
We got shell around here?
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit.
Before you really do much
So
to
the warranty
venture,
up there?
consider
Yes.
doing anything definitive with it, you might want to check with the township. That may have been a requirement to put the elementary school there, that they do have a fencing along the road. I would
Wow,
not be
yeah, that's a
surprised
long
if that
time.
was.
That was before my tenure.
Yeah.
You can always rip it
That was
out,
before mine too, but I would be,
Rip it out,
wouldn't be surprised if that was a
drop some
requirement.
Jersey barriers in there.
Fill
All
them,
right, well-
fill them with water and,
Mhm.
yeah.
You don't, you.
But that's definitely, I know, I drive past it
Yeah.
twice a day, every
It-
day,
yeah,
and I
it
just
is-
shake my head like,
Yep.
It is what it
there's
is.
three more beams that
It's,
fell down.
it's kind of cool, you know, having that kind of fence there, because
Yes.
it's very revolutionary and
Mhm.
rustic and, you
Yes,
know, to
I
the
agree.
area, but boy, it's
It is
a
maintenance
handful.
headache.
Yeah.
It really is.
You mentioned power washing, and it made me think of the high school, the front of the high school, and any chance of power washing that
Mhm.
and getting that crud off of
Yeah,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants to remove the canopy in front of the high
Oh,
school,
I
the
hope-
Starship Enterprise looking
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, that was
Um,
state of the art in 1968.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we can work that in, Peg.
Yeah,
It's not a
that's-
problem.
Just a little bit of,
Yeah.
it goes a long way. It's kinda-
Well, it sounds like we had a very busy summer, so.
I'll say.
Jim will have like an Eagle Scout project that they're looking to, I mean,
That's
I
true.
see people in the local paper and in my town where they're beautifying something, you know, that's out there.
That's a lot of something.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't have to be at all, but I mean, I think that's.
What's that?
People are gonna generator to power pavers.
Or can we actually-
I love to power wash, I'd gladly do
We
it.
have 2 big ones, so a big one and
Yeah.
a small one.
That's true.
Well,
Someone
Yeah.
actually built a batting cage for.
Really?
Yeah.
Ensburg Borough had somebody working on a project there, pulled out flower beds and did some stuff there, things like that.
Ah, and while I'm thinking about it, so Doug sent me a picture of Marlborough Elementary. It's very beautifully planted. Bollard in the front, so nobody can run into it.
The plants.
But it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, that one was on me. It's just,
It looks really
I
nice.
probably was 9 months late getting it populated with plantings.
But it looks really nice.
Yeah, and they've been doing a great job at Marlborough keeping it watered. It really has taken.
It's beautiful.
And it's really, if anybody wants, I can show you.
But it's
pictures
very
afterwards.
tastefully done, and it looks really nice.
Yeah.
The benches in the middle, it's beautiful.
Mhm. I agree.
And on that other note, so I think we need to have, if not just facilities, maybe the whole board invited to do a field trip, at least to the high school, to begin with, to see all the things that are done during this Giza Project. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. It's a lot of it's the underneath stuff, but it's really worth it.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I would
We
like
haven't
to-
had a
I'd
road
like
trip
to do
in a
a
while.
back of
Show
the
and
house
tell.
tour
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. There's, we spent a lot of money.
Yes, we did.
And it would be nice to show everyone.
Yes.
You know, all the new equipment and,
Yep.
yeah.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. Okay, so we'll work on that.
So the next time you're cooking hot dogs and hamburgers over there, just schedule it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
I don't know that does it need to be a formal meeting that's advertised?
No,
No,
We can just-
no.
No,
we
you
can
could just
get
invite everybody.
together.
Yeah, we could
Some
just go do
afternoon.
it. Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay.
That would be great.
But we could do hot dogs.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could do that. Definitely. Okay, so if we're done with that, and thank you, Doug. I really
Yes, it was
appreciate
quite a
all
bit.
of, that was
Thank
a
you.
Yeah,
lot.
the staff really deserves a tremendous amount of credit. They worked really hard this summer.
I will make sure I acknowledge. All right, so we'll move on to the Red Hill West 10th Street deed.
So
Yay.
this is going to start a series of letters that I received over the summer. I received a letter from Doris Decker of Red Hill Borough, third week of July or so, stating briefly that they want to convey a portion of a paper street to us via a quitclaim deed. So they call it West 10th Street, and it is, if you're leaving the high school and you're heading up 11th Street towards Main Street, on the right-hand side, there's Jefferson Street, and it loops around and actually comes out an alleyway behind all of the residents there. Well, if you come down Jefferson Street to the end and stop, and then sort of orientate yourself looking up towards Main Street, that's this paper street called West 10th Street. So there's 4 property owners that abut this paper street, us and 3 residents, and they want to deed
Give it to
this,
us.
this paper street, which is just grass, really, over to us and the 3 other residents.
Is that the same grass we've been mowing for the last 400 years?
Well, no,
Okay,
that was the
different
Wood
grass.
property. But this, come to find out, when I spoke to Ms. Decker, apparently they had a public works director that was mowing this area. And then he either left their employee or passed away, I mean, I can't quite recall. And then their new public works director stopped mowing it, and then I guess that's when a few residents came to a Borough of Red Hill meeting and raised the issue, and they did research and came up with this deed from 1990 that, says that we abut this paper street. So long story short, when I was talking to Ms. Decker, I told her I didn't want it. I just said, I don't want this.
It's your street.
Right,
What good would it do us?
None.
I was gonna
It's
say,
gonna
how
cost
much,
us money.
None.
Yeah.
yeah, how much area is it, is it contiguous to anything that we currently mow?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. I could pull it up for you quickly.
A better description of it, if you want to know exactly where it is, you know where the dental office parking lot is on the
Yeah.
same size as the dental office? As you're going towards Green Lane, there's a driveway before the office parking lot. That's East Main Street, that is, or East 10th
East 10th
Street,
Street. On
which
the
is an
other
open
side,
street
yeah.
because it goes to my
Right,
shed.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually looked it up online.
Street.
I looked it up online to see exactly where it was, because I was wondering whether it
Yeah,
abutted
it's right
up
across.
to the
It-
wood property.
It continues on.
But it's not contiguous with the wood property, is it?
No.
No.
Yeah,
No.
because that's further down, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
right.
Forest Fire was originally, was on one side of it, and Henry Lockman, or Abby Lockman was on the other side of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
There's an indentation.
Yep.
If you drive there, you can see where it dips down.
That's a good description. It's just an indentation. It's not,
And that's all you get.
it's really not, you can't traverse this.
Well,
So, and Red Hill didn't have any thoughts on doing anything with it or making it a street, correct?
No, apparently they didn't take possession within the, Paper Street is a street
Oh,
which
20
appears on
years.
plans, but was not opened within 21 years of
That's
recording
right.
the plan. So,
So it's a thanks but no thanks.
Maybe the county wants
Right,
it.
so, obviously forwarded this over to Kyle, and Red Hill is represented by Mark Postman.
Postman,
Yeah,
yeah.
they work down the hall from one another.
Yeah.
So, I think they're going to talk and come up with some kind of solution. To answer your question, it doesn't benefit us, that I'm aware of.
And if we had to take it over, if you had to start mowing it, would it just be continuing on another 50 feet by 100 feet or something, or is it you'd have to go out and around?
Or is it like a
No,
half a
no,
mile?
it's if I can, let's see. It's center multi-purpose room.
I tried looking at it, I didn't see lot lines on it though.
7677.
That was the difference.
Okay, there we are.
So it's,
Okay, so there's the high school.
it's this area here, so this is our property.
Mhm.
It comes, so when you come down Jefferson Street, it's like this swath here.
Oh, brother.
Now,
Can we get buses down
our
there?
piece would only be
Yeah,
this, like right here, just that abuts this property.
Ah,
I don't really understand it because these two homeowners, their properties abut.
yeah,
So I don't
So where is it?
understand how there could be a paper street there.
yeah.
Is there a cutout on the street? Like, to it just to
Well,
nowhere?
Here, there's a
Talking up on
little,
Main Street.
there's a little turn that starts to go up that way and then stops, and there's kind of a berm there.
You'd have to go to old borough plans to
Yeah.
see when they first put it together, because Pennsburg had them, and over the past 10 years, they've removed some of their paper streets also.
Right. I originally thought when I looked at this that it was the connector between Jefferson Street and Seminary Alley there, but that's actually paved. That's not what they're referring to.
Right,
They're referring to from
above it.
Jefferson Street to Main Street up through the grass.
Have we talked to any of the other abutters,
No,
for lack of a better term?
nope.
See what the lawyers.
This would be the only,
Yeah.
this property here, I can tell you who owns it, is, well, sometimes it'll work. Sorry. This is Montgomery County's property records.
Yep.
Sometimes you can click on here and there we go.
Oh, there you go. Richard, Kenneth and Richard Cow.
So that,
Richard and Kenneth.
Yeah, there's
Cow.
an and in there.
Yeah, they missed the first name of whoever the partner is.
and then this should be, that's us.
Right,
Yeah.
yep. Really us. Ooh,
See what the lawyers come back and tell us.
yeah.
So, you know, long story short, that it's with the solicitors.
Okay.
right now, and I'm not sure where that's gonna,
Okay.
you know, what Kyle's take is, you know, we certainly don't want it. It doesn't,
Yeah, what are we gonna put buses
have
through
any
between
value
two
to
houses?
us.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Can you only imagine what that would do?
That's that one.
Okay. All right, we already did the bridge closure.
Yes.
We will move on to the Upper Hanover Authority, the Hereford and Middle School tapping fees, yet another set of lovely letters.
Yes. Two different letters from Upper Hanover Authority, one at the end of May and one in June. The one at end of May was specific to Hereford Elementary. Apparently, they went back and did an audit or something for 2021, and I don't quite understand, but Hereford only had what they call 1 unit of water consumption, which equates to 225 gallons a
A day, yeah.
which is woefully inadequate for a school of that size, particularly when we had K to 5 there and almost 1,000 people. So essentially, they want to adjust our fees going forward, which, you know, up to 7 units, which when talking to Kyle, you know, that's more accurate. Although when I spoke to them, I said, you realize you're basing your numbers or these new 7 units on a year that I don't think we were in completely.
Oh, yeah.
You know, due to
Oh,
COVID.
that's true. I think of that.
So, you know, we wrote them back a letter and we said we were amenable to the 7 units going forward, but we didn't want to pay the $25,000 in additional tapping fees because they have a resolution that says, you know, they can charge $4,300 per additional unit. So when I spoke to Ms. Thompson, she, you know, very nice conversation, it wasn't contentious at all. She seemed to indicate that there may be some relief in, you know, grandfathering or something like that.
And when was that school built?
Yeah, like 57 or something like that.
And their new ordinance was 2001,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody bothered to mention it until 2022
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't have anything to do over
Right,
COVID.
and that's what we told, we said, you know, if anything, our consumption has gone down because
Yeah.
we
Less people.
less people, you know, two grades were pulled out of there.
Yeah.
So that one, I'm hopeful that there may be some relief. She mentioned something about back billing us a few years versus paying the 25,000.
I'd hold firm
But
for
their,
going
yeah,
forward.
their solicitor is working on, I think, like a counter proposal. So Kyle and I were working through that and drafting our letter back to them in response, and then this one in June touches down. I just didn't want to go to the mailbox anymore.
Yeah, blame you.
And this one says that we never paid for the tapping fees for the new middle school. And, you know, to the tune of $85,000.
Yep.
Dan and I have been, you know, through our records. I actually even called John Sheeran to see if he knew anything about this. That's my predecessor. He just kind of directed me to the files, which I've been plowing through, and I haven't found any record of this. Same thing, I asked Ms. Thompson, I said, well, did you ever send us an invoice? Did you ever bill us? And she said, no, that's not how this works, you know. And I said, well, is it possible that maybe a contractor paid this, and then the contractor passed the fee on to us, you know, through a payment application during the construction? And she didn't think so because they don't see this money ever coming in. So I'm not sure exactly where this one's going.
How the hell could we ever get water from anywhere without paying somebody. And how could we get approval for anything? Come on, this freaking school opened 2 years ago. Who's in charge of use and occupancy permits?
Right.
I'd lay it on our builders and make the builders pay it. Because if this was missed, it's just another issue. I'm sorry, I'm really irritated by this,
Yep, me too.
Mhm. Yeah. and it's-
especially $85,000.
Yes, yes. The application that we submitted, I think, was 2017, is that right? Does that sound right?
Yep, that sounds right.
And, you know, they're, to your point, Keith, they're coming, 5 years later,
Mhm.
saying, you owe us.
Well, it's better than the
85,000.
20 years later with the 2001 resolution for Hereford.
Yep.
Right.
Sure does.
So, Kyle's aware of both of these. We're continuing to work through it.
So what does it cost to drill a well in Hartford? That would probably be cheaper than $25,000 and all the fees going forward.
Yeah, with the Hereford, I just can't imagine that we,
That was
for
my-
all these years, we only had 1 unit of consumption.
I
And
can't.
how that ever became 1 unit.
Right.
It was, the school was not there, and then it was there. And then, even when it was just the round section, I'm sure they used more than 225
I would
gallons a
imagine.
day.
Yep. They probably didn't even have, see, I had the same issue at work with Jeff and our sewer
Your
units.
EDUs,
Yeah, our
right?
EDUs,
Well,
yeah.
they're trying to pay for all the improvements that they did over the past 5 years, where they jacked our
Yeah.
rates up by 20% last year and the year before, I think it was.
Mhm.
And they continue to plan on increasing them over the next few years because they have to pay for the loan that they took out for the
Yeah, but that's,
improvements.
we didn't ask for that, did we? I don't remember
Well,
being asked for that.
unfortunately, they didn't need it, but, there should be some better oversight on that,
Yes.
issues like that.
I think a lot of the Upper Hanover Authority, that's the water part, I think they're mostly, their board is all volunteers. If I remember correctly.
Yeah,
And I
so
think that's part of the issue.
It's,
And maybe it sounded like a good idea until you started charging people $25,000 for something that they've already paid for 75 years ago.
So the lawyers are
I can't
involved
even-
on that one also.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
Well, I'm of the mind that we continue to legal fight it, even if that costs us money to do that, because
Yes.
this is stupid. So in public, I'll say, so that next year, so everybody waited to do all of this until after our budget was already passed in June. So why did they do that in June?
Mhm.
Wait, it's
Yeah.
not in the budget. Oh, surprise. Trying to keep the taxes lower, that if we can, and still meet all of our needs, and then, we're hundreds of thousands of dollars past that. All right, I said my piece now. Okay, any other questions on the tapping fees?
Moving
By
on.
their own residents. Sorry, okay, I'm done.
Doug, did they say, when did that water authority go from a private group to the Upper Hanover Township? That was within my time here. I think the water authority was owned by a number of individuals.
Oh.
Really? I don't know about, I don't have any,
wasn't
I don't have any buildings. that
Mr.
have-
Wynn up at the hardware store, Harold Romike's father-in-law, wasn't he in a group that owned the water authority?
Whew. Boy, you got me, John.
I think that was a private thing, and then I
Huh.
think the township decided to buy it because it was gonna run through the township, even though it didn't service the boroughs. And that was within, I've been here since '69, so that was in the time when I was here that transition did take place. So,
And you
but
would think they
Hereford
would've picked it up
Would have
then?
fallen into that time.
Yeah, you think they would have picked it up then? They probably didn't have tapping fees then.
Even more recently, though, is their adjustments in 2001. They should have been doing due diligence then.
It's not
Figured
our
out-
fault, yeah.
When
Too
they
bad.
made those changes, they should have sent letters out to everybody, and they should have checked on everything at that point, done a reevaluation.
Yeah, I agree. Not 20 years later. Not happy about that either.
Moving on.
Okay, moving on.
Can I
Fourth-
ask a question?
Oh, sure.
If they were going to do this back 20 years later, do we get to pay the EDU or the hookup charge from 20 years ago? Since that's.
Well, that was my other question. Yeah, I'll pay the one from 1952. And not a penny more. I thought of that the other day. I was thinking about it. Yeah, that's a good question. All right, 4-5 center sewer lateral repairs. Yes, the East
Yeah, it
Greenville
doesn't-
project.
It doesn't get better, sorry.
It's all good.
So, as part of UMG's diligence to seal their collection system and prevent the I&I, as they call it, in their infiltration into their system, they, I guess, cameraed, that's a word, cameraed, and smoke tested a sewer lateral that originates, I'm not sure if it originates, but it's from a manhole in the 4-5 parking lot on the 6th Street side,
Okay.
fairly close to the building, maybe 20 feet off the
That big
building.
hole there in the.
Well, yeah, not a little bit towards 6th Street, but close to that big hole.
Okay.
From there out to 6th Street,
Okay.
unbeknownst to me.
Didn't you tell me first?
No. And sent me the video and essentially said that there are breaches in that line and you're gonna have to pay to have
Reline
it
it.
repaired,
Yeah.
to line it, essentially. I'm waiting for a quote from their subcontractor, who I think is,
PPI?
yeah, Performance
Pipeline, yeah.
and
So I have
see
a
where that comes
question.
in.
So they've been doing this for a long time in East Greenville, and obviously I
Yes.
have a company in East Greenville.
Yeah.
So,
Both areas. Yeah.
yeah, they've been doing it for
Mhm.
a long time. And I don't remember hearing anyone saying they had to pay for it. Like, they've been fixing it. The PPI trucks there all the time. It's
Yes.
everywhere,
Right. You mean
every
on-
street.
On private property, they haven't been paying?
Not that I know of. I'm sure of it because
I
I'll
don't believe
double
they've done it
check.
for the
but-
residential hookups.
The times
remember?
that they're making them pay for it is when they sell the homes, when the private properties are selling the homes.
If it's
and there's
inspected,
an issue.
yeah.
Right.
Then an inspector comes in, but not because they did a smoke test and the smoke test didn't work.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, it was
really
a smoke
big
test and a camera, because they did send us video.
That's what they did. I mean, they did it everywhere.
Mhm.
But if you didn't agree to it,
You don't have to agree to it, but they did notify you. I mean, I have quite a few properties in East Greenville, and they've all had their tests.
Yeah.
They've all passed. Yes.
So, the
Um,
notification aside, I don't know if we're obligated to fix it, and if we are, I don't know at this point. It's more just early warning. I'm not sure what this is gonna cost, if we are obligated to fix it, so.
Okay, and is that the only thing?
That's the only one that I've been notified.
I don't want to say that out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah, that's the
Thank
only
you for
one.
understanding my.
So it's essentially right, 20 feet off the building, all the way out to 6th Street.
All right. I'll do some checking around and see what I come up with.
Again, I'd complain about not having been notified of when they were doing it, so you could have somebody there also seeing
To
as
witness.
it's,
Yeah,
Right.
district property.
Yeah.
We have a large stake.
yeah, we sure do. Any questions? Guys are good? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the PCCD School Mental Health and Safety and Security Grant, which, thank you.
Yes, so PCCD came out with their grant funding for this year, and the district is due to get $149,000 for both physical security and mental health. So it's $149,000 for each. Dr. Farina.
For each or
For
total?
each.
Oh.
For each.
Oh,
Dr.
great.
Farina and I have been working on the grant. It's due August 31st. On the mental health side, Dr. Farina is writing for a social worker. And I believe she has 3 quotes from various, it would be an agency-provided social worker. I'm not exactly sure where the quotes have come in, but it's certainly funding it for more than a year. I think it's 2-ish.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying.
And then on the physical security side, we thought it prudent to review the risk and vulnerability assessments that were conducted by the state police, and one of their major findings was the vehicular barriers.
Okay.
Both for, doorways and also just pedestrian safety, where, we're unloading students and we have traffic and just making that whole situation safer. PCCD actually came out with a chart that has 3 tiers, at least on the physical security side, that has 3 tiers of, security levels. And then there's categories within each tier. And the way this grant is set up, you can't write for anything in tier 2 or tier 3 until you have all of the tier 1 items completed or ticked off.
You can talk about the GOC. Does this
Yes,
sound awfully familiar?
I think so,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
sounded
Yes.
Yeah.
completely the same.
Yeah, vehicular
I
barriers
was thinking there was
are,
another policy meeting here or
Right.
something.
vehicular barriers are a tier 1 item. So seeing that on the PCCD chart coupled with the assessments that we had from the state police, that one naturally sort of bubbled to the top.
Yep.
Okay, we confirmed that, so when I saw the chart, there was all these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Right.
So, and then there was lines across,
Right.
so is it everything in tier 1 before you touch anything in tier 2? Or just in that column, or in that row, I should
Mhm.
say? You can't go to tier 2 unless you fulfill tier 1 in that
category.
In that category.
I did go back to Dr. Farina about
Yeah.
that, and she thought it was everything in tier 1, but I think she said she was gonna email our contact at PCCD.
Because I haven't heard that from anyone else, that would just, it's almost like we have money we can't use.
It's unattainable,
It
right?
really feels that way. You can't literally, if it's in the column of physical safety, it talks about ballards, and then it talks about planters, or whatever the things are.
Right.
You can't do that before you do that. Okay, I get that. But if you can't do everything in tier 1, like to do, you've got this one up here, rock solid, tier 1, you're ready for tier 2, but you can't get it because you have to install 85 cameras. It just may
Yeah,
not,
right.
it just may not, I just haven't heard that.
Yeah.
it's just
Well, maybe
the way
that,
we're-
maybe that'll work out that way, and at least we'll get somewhere with
Yeah, I
something.
would think it would be difficult, as Dr. Roche is saying, that you would actually need every item in that category to secure the school. I would
Right.
think that there would be exceptions for some.
We went back and read some of the emails that we received, and
Mhm.
it seems to indicate that you have to have all tier 1 items, but that, it may just be, we need to get that clarified from PCCD. But, so on the physical side, we want to write for the vehicular barriers at, all of the schools, and depending on, I had also, if you remember, budgeted money to address these findings in the risk assessment. So that money plus this money, hopefully we can
Get
do
pretty
all
far.
of the schools.
Yep.
And we'll likely need an architect to make sure we're addressing the ADA access and permitting and codes and all of those types of things. So a portion of the 149 on the physical security would be architectural fees, and the balance would be construction, and then potentially supplement it with money that I have in my budget, because 149 is not going to cover district.
Not going to go very far, no. So we should be
So
good with Marlborough.
right, so the ask is, support for those 2 items, and they, as part of the grant application, we need a letter of support from the school board. So
Oh.
typically, we draft, Dr. Farina and I will draft the letter and then ask Ms. McGinnis to sign off on that, hopefully this Thursday.
Okay. Makes sense. I shall put it in my update. That's good we're doing the updates first. Good deal. Okay.
Just a note, during your update, you don't have to list every summer project.
Come on.
Right, there are a lot.
Yeah, there's a few. right.
I'm not saying you're long-winded, but
You're gonna meet with
sometimes.
Dr. Rose sometime.
Well, we're doing so much and it's also important and I want to make sure everybody understands where we're spending all their money at. Because
I
it's
don't talk at
important.
workshops.
Yeah, there,
Yeah, thank goodness. You're right.
just circling back to this PCCD chart, and I can show it to you after the meeting, there are some interesting tier 1 items that, the nice thing, or the good thing is we've addressed some of the tier 2 and tier 3 already.
Oh, that's good.
So, you know, some of the things that we've done from vestibules and security guards and window film and things like that. But, you know, just to give you an example, one of the tier 1 items, it says a single entry in and out of each school building.
Yeah, how would you ever do
You
that?
can't go to level 2 unless you have.
Unless you do
If
level
it's
1.
all or none, if it's all one.
So we have to
Yeah.
close the athletic entrance at the high school, the maintenance entrance in the rear,
Then what's
everybody's
for
got
the
to go
signage?
in the front. You know, some of these things I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hopefully it's.
Saying what would be baffling about that is the size of the school. For a relatively small school, not an issue, but when you've got something with
225,000 square
Schools are
feet.
designed to have separate entrances for buses and parent drop-off.
Yeah.
Just simply,
Exactly.
it's just simple, it's not,
Just
you
for
don't
safety.
intermix them,
This
right?
isn't fire code.
Right, and is it all,
Exactly.
is it all worth, yes, $149,000.
Right.
Not downplaying the amount of money,
Right.
but at the same point.
But is it? Yeah,
know.
that's
Mhm.
true.
You know,
I
it goes on
sometimes
to
think that
say
about federal funding, yeah.
fencing around our playgrounds,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure I agree
Fencing
with.
for elementary school around the road.
Yeah, it says, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go.
I'm not,
Perfect.
to be honest with you, I'm not sure I agree
Next.
with that one, but I'm not sure if there's an appeal process, but, yeah, there's some,
And if there was a time frame for the applications, it was pretty quick. You know, the
yeah,
turnaround.
for this grant, it came out April 1st, it's due April 31st. So they gave
Yeah.
us 1 month to get this in.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, in the busiest month.
Of course.
So we'll have the letter ready for Thursday.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And, we'll go from there. It
Okay.
doesn't, I don't believe it's competitive. I believe if we satisfy the grant requirements,
Ah.
because they listed by school district what the grant awards were
Oh, yeah, that's
in
right.
advance.
Yep.
This was the additional money that was
Yeah.
built into the state budget.
Yep.
Into the state, right.
And then, but it's filtering.
Yep.
But this is how they're
PCCD as
doing
far
it,
as-
yeah.
Yeah, because the end game is not everybody will qualify for it. They'll keep money left over for people who got denied the grants, and then they have an excess of funds in the budget at the end of the year that they'll use for something else. I'm
There you
sorry,
go.
I'm a cynic.
Well, again, you know,
Mhm.
makes sense.
Okay.
And just, Dr. Roach, I'm just pulling up another PCCD email here in big bold red letters. It actually says, in all caps, all tier 1 standards in the baseline criteria must be satisfied before you may request to use funding for any other eligible program activity or expense allowed by this grant.
If it's bolded, they mean business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
All caps.
They didn't underline it though.
Yeah, right. No parentheses.
Right. If you do not, in all caps, meet all tier 1 baseline criteria, you should utilize your grant funding on one or more of the available activities to meet the tier 1, or explain how other resources are being utilized to satisfy their criteria.
Just for curiosity, I don't know if you guys, could you send us a copy of that grant application so we could see what you have to deal with?
Well, it's a shame if they're gonna give it out to everybody, why do you have to go through all the hoops to get it? That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
I mean, you mentioned fencing around playgrounds. I mean, 4 or 5 would be the one that you would look at. I know it's been discussed in general.
Yeah.
That would be one
Right.
that, again, it's, you know,
Yeah. But then you have, you know, the unintended consequence of now, keeping the neighborhood kids off of the playgrounds on the weekends. you know,
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Right.
and it's their playground too.
and part of their playground is the lower parking lot. When it's wet out, they still go out, they use that, they don't park in that lower lot there, so.
Yeah.
It's not technically a playground, but it is where they're getting some energy out, and maybe that's Foursquare
Yeah.
and those things.
Yeah, PTFS actually painted some 4-square boards
Saw 'em in
on
there.
on that parking lot and some of the parking stalls. They did a nice job.
Yep, that was good, they did.
Yeah, so.
They did. All right, well, anyone have anything else
An
you
hour
want
and
to
40
discuss?
minutes later, that's all I have.
The heck of a
That was a
piece.
lot. Anyone's heads exploding? George, go ahead.
Melanie, I'd just like to, a few statements about the upkeep of the high school baseball field. It's going to be a challenge, and there's things going on there. I know Doug saw right before the season started, the benches along the first baseline had a game coming up in 2 days, and the benches that were in there, and some of them were all through and all.
In the varsity field?
Coach Burkhan got you to straighten those out.
Yes, yep.
There needs to be some maintenance, routine things, and it's up to Doug how he wants to do it. But I think it's very important because we're lucky we have a baseball program in this community that's basically second to no one. Last year we had 10 high school grads play college baseball, record number. The Little League goes up to Cooperstown, has a good record against national teams. The Junior Legion team is second in the entire state of Pennsylvania, losing to Murrysville out of Pittsburgh. And the Senior Legion team has their up and downs, but they have a reputation with an excellent program. A lot of kids playing professional baseball, the Cubs and the Blue Jays. So I just, want to kind of give you encouragement to keep watching that baseball field because it does a lot of good for the community.
Well, the only thing I agree, totally agree with that.
And the scoreboard, there's some confusion about that. The Junior Legion and the Senior Legion didn't use the scoreboard this season. And everybody's asking me, why aren't they using the scoreboard? How can you sit here, 300 people at a game and the scoreboard's not on? And I don't know what the reason was. I'm not connected with the Legion program anymore, but they didn't use the scoreboard all summer. And I think it was in functioning mode. I just don't know why that was.
It should be in functioning mode.
It might have been a cost, I don't know what it was.
There is a fee in 7.
You sit at a game, everybody says, why isn't the scoreboard working? And I don't know what's going on there. So you can look into it, why the scoreboard didn't work this summer.
It probably
why
was
they didn't use it,
financial.
I don't know.
It probably was financial. Yeah, but we just reworked, we've been working on it for a long time, policy 707.
Were any of the issues with the fields, the benches and stuff like that due to vandalism, or was it just wear and tear, kind of? Hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any specific vandalism there.
Okay,
Keith.
well, that's good.
Good enough,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
The actual athletic director Kurzweg and I are actually looking at a system that will allow people to control the scoreboards and the new scoreboard at the softball field without using our controller.
Oh,
It's a little module, like a wireless module that you put on the scoreboards, and I think there's an app or something, and we can give them rights to the app, with their rental, and then they can work the scoreboard, and we don't have to give them a piece of equipment,
right.
a controller to do that.
There you go.
Just to
That'd be
make
nice.
that, because I think that's sort of the sticking point, that we don't want to give that controller out because, if something
Because
were
then
to
we need
happen
it.
to that,
Right.
and we don't have it. So this app solution could certainly help that.
That'd be cool. And then also we have Title IX issues as well, so I just say that out loud. I don't know if that could have anything to do with it, but I know we're working on that softball field getting there, so.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that out loud. Anything else?
No, that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Excellent information. Not all of it good, but it is what it is.
50-50.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah, it's right. There was a lot of good things happening.
Yes, there definitely were. That was a
issues we have
really
to work through as well.
productive summer, for sure.
For sure.
All right, I would entertain a
Motion
motion.
to adjourn.
Comment.
Oh,
The trees all cut down at Marlborough, that looks much nicer.
Doesn't that look great?
It's clearer, it's just a cleaner look.
It looks
in there.
nice.
And I hope that nobody decides to go plant trees again.
No.
I'm saying that's what it looks very nice.
It looks really nice, I agree. I just went past there the other day and
Yeah.
it looked really good.
Very
Yeah.
noticeable.
Thank you, it does, it looks great.
Yeah.
Just have to plant some strategically if we do remove a few more. Not clutter it up, just
Oh,
a few
yeah,
to
it's
keep it
very
going.
nice, you can see the school, you can see everything, and they can see it, this way.
And the
you
lawn
can't
looks nice,
try to
like the
get into
stuff's
school.
gone, it looks great.
Yeah.
It does look
It
great.
did turn out nice.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because it does, I just went past there the other day.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
down
they
that
were,
way
they were all
that much.
ash trees, they
Yeah.
all died.
Yep,
And there were a few
But
evergreens
leaving
too,
it
but
clear like that it looks
it looks
much
good,
nicer.
yeah, that's good. All right,
Motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming,
Thank you.
very much appreciated.
Peggy, can I call you within a day or two? I'm gonna try to get hold of Scott.
Yeah, see what Sean says. Yeah.
Okay, yep.
All right,
I will
cool.
forget to ask you until it's off.
Talk to Doug, see if it's on the way.